Since the argument between Flip and Marc a few weeks ago and all of the discourse surrounding it, I noticed that Marc has completely shrunk himself around his co-host. I mean, he has completely turned his whole edgy intellectualism shtick down. And it's like everyone can be edgy and elitist on the show except Marc. I remember Joe Budden calling us brokies when he started to put his podcast behind a paywall. This man literally coined the term 9-to-5ers as it relates to his audience, for Christ's sake. Like, come on. And you know what? Nobody said it was elitist. We all laughed and took it in stride. But now that Marc Lamont Hill, a nigga with multiple degrees, joins the show and can chin-check barbershop intellectuals with cold hard facts backed by hours of study and writing, it's elitist. Like, what are we talking about? And what are you telling me? Like, every nigga on the show has their snobby moments. The question that I pose is, why is it only offensive when it's Marc Lamont Hill?
Why is it not hip-hop when I do it? Well, I mean, goddamn. Why is it suddenly a nigga tripping when I do it? Why everybody else could have a war, have beef within the music, talk about differences, and it's okay, it's music, it's hip-hop, it's groundbreaking. When I do it, it's war.
On top of being resented by your castmates for being smart, Marc now runs the risk of what Robert Greene calls outshining the master, which basically says that you should always make those above you feel superior and secure in their power, even when you're talented. And if you make them feel overshadowed at any point, jealous or insecure, they'll often respond with resentment, sabotage, or quiet retaliation. I think Joe Budden is a narcissist, straight up. Yes, I do. Marc being a great hire for his business make him look good as a boss and business owner, yes. But what happens when the people, your audience, start loving him just as much, if not more, than they love you? Now, mind you, Joe Budden has a very niche fan base, so I'm not saying everybody is going to turn against him for Marc, but I do think the longer Marc is on the show, the more people are going to fall in love with him, and the more people will be attached to him, thus making him an integral part of the show's overall success, or in an extreme case, failure, or some level of decline, even if it's momentary. Marc leaving the show or getting fired would definitely affect Joe's bottom line. See me? I don't watch the episodes that Marc not on. If he show up late, I'll either skip to the section of the pod when he gets there or skip the pod altogether. As someone who didn't really fuck with Marc before the show, I can honestly say now, I'm not watching that shit if he not on it. But anyway, at some point, Joe's going to start resenting Marc for being brilliant. I mean, it's inevitable. Now, Marc probably thinks that if he shrinks himself a little, it'll get the cast and master boss Joe off his back. And that's all fine and dandy, but eventually Marc's going to be the one that implodes again. I mean, we've seen this in real time. A slow build-up of true feelings passed off as jokes and snide remarks that a nigga let slide. We saw all of it. And we saw the result of what happens when things are discussed. And maybe apologies are made behind the scenes, but nobody's really over it. Things will come to a head. They did before, and they will again. I know one thing. If Marc has consistently watched the podcast for the last decade it's existed, then you know that there's no job security at the Joe Budden Podcast when you get too big for your britches, start asking too many questions, or in Mel's case, dogpiled when she has an opinion, made to feel small, and gaslit when she stopped sharing said opinion in an honest way. Similar to what Marc is facing now. Although I think Marc's situation is more of a silent dogpiling just because his castmates know that they can't really verbally spar with Marc, and they're not going to play with him, who is another man, in ways that they would play with other women or like try to shut other women up who are not as abrasive as Mel or as masculine as Mona. It's so funny because both of the people who I felt like were the most articulate and well-read find themselves being reductive in an environment where surface-level intellect is applauded and political takes based off ignorance, assumptions, and feelings are coddled. What price do we pay for making ourselves small in rooms that reward mediocrity? What price do we pay for choosing comfort over truth? What price do we pay for dumbing ourselves down to be understood? I personally think that the next few weeks in the JBP universe is going to be interesting as Marc navigates the fine line between assuaging his boss/co-host and remaining confident in his own convictions without shrinking himself to fit the comfort of others. Pre-blow up, Marc would have cooked Ish for his ill-informed but very, very opinionated take on politics, particularly as it related to Zohran Mamdani and his plan to provide free transportation to the city of New York. The Marc that we saw in this clip took it easy on Ish. It's almost as if he was protecting Ish from getting sensitive and shutting down when he doesn't have all the facts or all of the information, and Marc tries to give him all of the facts and all of the information, and he just gets mad like he always does. I mean, Ish is currently going viral again for his ill-informed but very, very opinionated takes, and him saying I feel, but then using buzzwords like think logically, or I'm using logic, not emotion, but then again following it up with I feel. You know, that's the type of shit that Ish do. And then he wonders why, in the eyes of social media, he's seen as a bonehead compared to a guy like Marc, who is well read. The JBP calls being informed on very important topics discussed tricky words, or a lot of words, or elitism, which is the newfound buzzword for the JBP, which I can see putting Marc in an awkward position as the only educator in the room. Marc can do the ignorant nigga barbershop talk like the rest of them, but he can also, like, you know, educate about real shit going on in the world. I mean, if you're ill-informed about something trivial like celebrity gossip or hip-hop news, like, you know, the shit that they generally talk about, then okay. But once you start getting into law and politics and things that affect people on a grand scale, and you're giving your opinions, I definitely think that it should be corrected, and you should be informed when you're giving your opinion, especially on politics. Not to digress, but that's part of my gripe now with these celebrities who like tweeting stupid shit about American politics when they don't really know shit. Or how about the celebrities who are not even fucking citizens of the states tweeting their stupid ass opinion on politics, and the political figures who have our country in disarray? I mean, I just think it's ridiculous that Nicki Minaj, the immigrant, with all of the influence that she has, is influencing people to be Trump supporters, or at least making it so Trump's not that bad. When if shit hit the fan here in our country, she can always go back to her own fucking country. I mean, yeah, she's Americanized, and I think she's been here since she was a kid, like 6 or 7 years old, but she could always go back to her fucking country and her people if she wants to. Whereas the people here, Black Americans in particular, we have nowhere to go. We have no other countries to go to when shit hits the fan. I mean, sure, we can move to other places. We can go to Mexico. We can go to Europe. We can go to different places, right? We can go to Africa. But Black Americans shouldn't have to seek refuge in other countries just so that immigrants can feel comfortable and feel safe. And I stand on that. Crash out in the comments. Follow me on X and Twitter, and I'll talk to you all in my next video.